Alright, hope everybody's doing alright. This is the last video for the algebra review before you guys take your quiz to see how well you remember algebra and to make sure that you are in the right class for this year. So, what we're going to look at today is a couple of different things. We're going to look at graphing equations, writing equations of lines, and then also radicals. Radicals are probably the most important thing that you will need to get out of today for this year. So, if we go to graph an equation, we always want that equation to be in y equals mx plus b. M is slope, b is your y-intercept. Okay. So first one's pretty basic, simple. Always start with your y-intercept. So my y-intercept is 6. So I'm going to go up 6 on the y-axis. And my slope is -4 or -4 over 1. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 over to the right 1. Down 4 over 1. Then make sure you have 3 lines and draw your line. Doesn't have to be perfect, just try and get something straight. Then you're done. Make sure it's a negative slope. In number 2, you have to do a little bit of work first. We need to get that y by itself. Well, from algebra you should know how to do that. First thing you want to do is add 10x to both sides. So you get 5y equals 10x minus 30. I just slid that x in there. Most of you probably remember doing that. And then divide by 5. You want to get y all the way by itself. So 10 divided by 5 is 2x, and -30 divided by 5 is -6. That's the equation we want. Go ahead and graph it. So -6 on the y-axis. And then our slope is 2 or 2 over 1. So we're going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, making sure this time that you have a positive slope. Okay, so not too bad for either of those. Maybe you even were able to do them without this video. Okay, for the next few we're going to write the equation of the line. Alright, so we're going to start off pretty basic. We need to find the slope between 2 points. So, for example, if we had some slope, or 2 points somewhere, say point here and point here, we want to find out what that slope is of the line. So we're given 2 points, and you should remember this formula. It is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's your slope. Okay, so not too bad. So we'll call this x1, y1, x2, y2. Now it's just plugging in and figuring out what it is. So y2 is 7 minus -1 minus y1 minus -1 all over 4 minus 0. So 7 minus negative is really like plus a positive. So we get 8 over 4. Always reduce. Slope is 2. Not too bad. Okay. What is the y-intercept? Well, if you look at it, this should be pretty easy. 0, -1, that means it's on the y-axis because it doesn't go left or right 0, and it goes down -1. So if you're looking at a graph over here, that'd be like the point 0, -1. So that's your starting point. Remember, it's a point, so make sure you have it written as a point. Y-intercept is a point. Okay. A couple other ones we'll look at. We have slope-intercept form. Again, everybody knows that one. That's easy. Y equals mx plus b. We also have point-slope form. Not as easy to remember, but something you'll need to know. So, if we're given something in point-slope, or we want to write something in point-slope form like in number 5, we're given a slope, we're given a point, and we want to write it in point-slope form. Pretty easy. Okay, point-slope form, here's my slope, here's my point, plug and go. So point-slope form, we're going to have y minus y1 minus a -1 equals m is -5/2 times x minus 4. Just change this to y plus 1 equals -5/2 times x minus 4. And you're done. Remember, we don't want to keep going because if we keep going, that's going to take us to slope-intercept form. If we were to distribute there, we want to stay right where we're at. Now, number 6, we will go all the way to slope-intercept. Okay? When in doubt, you need to start in point-slope form. You can't skip straight ahead to slope-intercept form. It's impossible to do. You can get the slope right, but you can't get the intercept right. So, right now we have neither point-slope form nor slope-intercept form. So we're going to take point-slope form and go to slope-intercept form. For point-slope form, you need to get a point and you need to get a slope. Right now we have neither of those, so you can start with whatever you want. Okay, I guess we have 2 points we can pick from. I always use lower numbers, so there's my point that I'll use, 2, 2. Alright, but I still need to find a slope. So to do that, we're going to use our slope formula like what we did in number 3. And we're going to take m is equal to 12 minus 2 over 4 minus 2. Or maybe you learned it as jumps. So that's equal to 10 over 2, which is equal to 5. There's my slope. Notice how I've circled my 2 important pieces of information, 2, 2, and 5. So now what I can go ahead and do is put it in point-slope form first. So point-slope form is going to look like this. Y minus 2 equals 5 times x minus 2. I'm plugging in my point, my slope that I just found. Okay, that's point-slope form, but remember we want to get to slope-intercept form. Now this is where you go ahead and finish everything. So distribute y minus 2 equals 5x minus 10. Add 2 to both sides. Y equals 5x minus 8. And you're done. Okay, last thing we're going to look at. Don't forget, you can pause, rewind, go back, see it again, bring questions to class, star problems that you weren't sure about, whatever you need to do. We're not going to go through all of these. We'll go through some of them tomorrow in class. But we have some basic rules that we'll write down as we go, in case I forget any at the beginning with radicals. Number 1 rule is when you're adding or dividing, it's innies and it's outies. Everybody knows what an innie belly button is. Everybody knows what an outie is. Okay, innies stay together, outies stay together. Do not mix them up. Okay, so we'll see that in this first example. I have 2 outies. I have a 2 and a 4. 2 times 4 is 8. There's my outie. Okay, my innies are 32 and 2. Multiply them. That's 64. Make sure you're done. I can reduce that 64. Take the square root of 64. 8 times 8 is 64. Square root of 64 becomes 8. And you're done. Okay. Same idea on number 8 here. So we'll go ahead and do this. You can do it a couple different ways. I'm going to reduce first, because you see this, we have the square root of 9, which can be reduced to 3. So we'll get rid of the radicals, times the square root of 16 is 4. Now if you wanted to, you could do 3 times negative 2 and get negative 6, and do 9 times 16 and get 144, but you're going to get this exact same answer. It doesn't matter which way you do it. You can try it if you don't believe me. So we have 9 times negative 8 equals negative 72. And we're done. Okay. Now in number 9, this one does not work out as nicely. We can't, if we punch in the square root of 24 on the calculator, let's see what we get. 4.898979486. Yeah, we don't want to write that down. Okay, we can't write that down. They need to be reduced. So the way I taught it was to break up 24 into whatever you want. So let's call it 4 times 6. That works. Keep going. 4 breaks up into 2 times 2. 6 breaks up into 2 times 3. You're looking for partners now. The 2's have a pair. There's a pair of 2's there. Now, the other 2 and the 3, they don't have a partner, so you can't make them partners. If they have a partner, they come out of the radical. Think about it. If you have a date, if you have a partner to go out with, you can go out. Otherwise, you're going to stay at home and watch TV and sit on the couch and do whatever. Okay. The 2 and the 3, they don't have a partner. They're going to stay home together. 2 times 3 goes inside, which is 6. And you're done. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Okay. Same idea in number 10, except for you have a number on the outside. Just can't forget about that at the very end. So we're going to split up the square root of 27 into 3 times 9. 3 can't be broken up anymore, but 9 can. To a pair of 3's. Here's my partners. Just so you know, you could also go off a different branch. You could say that these guys are partners. It's not going to matter. Doesn't matter if they're a long distance relationship or not. They can be on the same branch, they can be on different ones. Doesn't matter. Those 3's are going to come out, so now we're going to have 8 times 3. Don't forget about that 8. And that 3 that doesn't have a partner stays inside. Reduce. 8 times 3 is 24 times the square root of 3. And you're done. We might end up going through all these even though I said we weren't. If you want to, pause, work ahead if you remember how to do these. Whatever you want to do. Let's switch colors up here. In number 11, you notice it's a binomial times binomial, just like if you were going to FOIL, so that's what you're going to do. So if we're going to FOIL, it's going to be first times first. So the square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 36. You might be working ahead thinking that's 6, that's fine. Now we have our outer. So we have plus 4 times square root of 6. Remember, that's an outie and an innie. Do not combine them. Leave them alone. We have an innie times an outie again. So that's going to be negative 4 times square root of 6. Just put them right next to each other. They cannot be multiplied. Then we have our last terms. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. That the positive 4 radical 6 and the negative 4 radical 6 cancel. Square root of 36 is 6. 6 minus 16 equals negative 10. So all that mess works out to actually negative 10. Okay? Here's another little rule that you may remember. And anytime you made a mistake, I'm sure your teacher said something. You can never have radicals in the denominator. Never, ever, ever can they be down there. So what you do to get rid of them is rationalize. In other words, you multiply the bottom by the square root of 6, or that same number. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Otherwise, it changes the equation or the expression. Okay. So now we're going to have on top 2 radical 6, an innie and an outie. Just put them together. Over square root of 6 times square root of 6 is square root of 36. So that's going to work out to 2 radical 6 over 6. Make sure you reduce. That's going to work out to 1 radical 6 over 3. 2 6's reduced to 1/3. Or you could just have radical 6 over 3. You don't need to have the 1 there, but most people like to see it. Okay? I don't know why I went back to red. Let's switch it back. In number 13, square root of 20 plus 8 radical 5 minus radical 30. You cannot combine those. You cannot add them unless they have the same or the same radical. So if it was like radical 5 plus radical 5, you could say, okay, now that's like 2 radical 5s. It's like having x plus x is 2x. It's the same exact idea. So we can't do anything now, but what we might do is reduce some of these or simplify some of these, then see if we can add them. So let's see what happens. Square root of 20 breaks up into 4 times 5. 4 breaks up into a pair of 2's, so it becomes 2 radical 5. The pair comes outside. Can't do anything in the middle one, so that's going to stay as 8 radical 5. Last one, 5 times 6, 2 times 3. Okay, we end up at the ends of our branches. We don't have any partners, so it's just going to stay as the square root of 30. Only simplify what you can. Don't force it. Okay, we have what looks like 2x plus 8x. It's the same exact idea, but it's 2 radical 5 plus 8 radical 5. So we have 10 radical 5s. You can think of it like that, minus the square root of 30. That's as much as you can do. Okay? And the last one, let's see if we can stay under 15 minutes. We're close. We have a monomial times a monomial. Okay, stay with your rules. Innies times innies, outies times outies. So I have 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. That's my outie. Times radical 3 times radical 12 is radical 36, or square root of 36. Negative 10 times now becomes the square root of 36 is just 6. and there's your answer right at 15. Okay, so again, hopefully a lot of this came back to you. If you're still struggling, make sure you come see me, get some extra help. It'll be, take 25 minutes in my office or after school, before school. We can go over some of this, but we do not want you to fall behind when so much of geometry is just algebra again with the shapes. So make sure you come in for help, ask questions, ask your friends, make sure you look at your notes on here. Okay, bring questions to class if you're still not sure, because I'm sure somebody else has the exact same question you do. Have a great night.